for joining in. Right, so hi everyone, welcome back. And I'm Sathak Jain, a senior software developer at Harness and maintainer at Litmus Kios project. So we are back with another amazing session. And for this, we have with us Prithviraj, who is the community manager at Harness. And he'll discuss about the case study on building the Litmus Kios community. Surely it's going to be an amazing session. So over to you, Prithvi.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarthak, and thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. It's been an amazing time at Chaos Carnival, and I appreciate you all joining in. I think a lot of people, if you are joining in from Asia, India, Europe, it's been late for you. But thank you once again for joining in. We'll be talking about a very interesting subject in the Chaos community. So, without any further ado, I would like to share my screen and get started. So I hope my screen is visible, and we'll be talking about how constructing a community is just like constructing, a tool itself. There are a lot of people who don't talk about community these days, but I'll be honest with you, creating a community is as important as building a tool itself. Today, from the earlier days where the focus was completely on sales, marketing, and all these things, today the focus has shifted to building a community itself, and it's something where it was, as a role, it was seen as a techno marketing role, but as an overall interface, the community is that bridge which helps the creators interact with the product and the overall folks who are using it. And that's why I'm taking the Litmus Kiosk story here. I've been involved with this community since the last 3 years now. So this is a quick introduction about me. This journey started back at Maya Data, the co-creators of Litmus Chaos, as Uma and Karthik have spoken about it. They've been the foundation of this project, and then the project itself became so big, it became so popular, the community became so popular. I'm not taking credit for it. There are a lot of folks who have contributed to it, and the larger community, of course, and it became the project itself turned into the company which sponsored it, Chaos Native, and now at Harness, we've been sponsoring this project, Litmus Chaos. It's a CNCF incubating project, and this journey has been amazing. Being a part of the community, you end up organizing meetups, Chaos Carnival. This has been an amazing event since the last 3 years, and obviously. The community also broadens out, and I help organize Kubernetes Community Days, Chennai, and Bangalore as well. And you can connect with me on these socials. So feel free to connect, and we'll chat more about community then. So it's a short agenda. Hopefully, we'll talk about how did it start, the open source story or the open source side of things, how we jumped ships into the community, what are the challenges that the open source community has faced, a little bit on the Litmus Chaos project, how this community was formed, and what's next, how you can contribute to it, what is upcoming for the community. So everyone who's interested in community building, community involvement, feel free to check out this talk until the end, and feel free to ask your questions as well in the Q&A section. So how did it start? Obviously it started with nothing, to be honest. By nothing, I don't mean that the project was in the building blocks, but when I joined in itself, the project had reached some milestones, but the community was at a very nascent stage. The community was still growing, and there was absolutely nothing happening in the community, and it was a challenge, an absolute challenge, because open source itself is challenging, not just in terms of selling, but it's also challenging in terms of building a community. You have to sell the idea of, this project is important to you, you need this project, you need something out of it. And that's where the need of chaos engineering was, visualized, not just by me but the stakeholders of the project. Each and every community member who saw something in chaos engineering believed that the open source side of things will follow, and will be the sparkling light. And that's why, where Litmus Chaos took off, we understood that the old way, the nascent way of doing chaos engineering was not enough. Chaos Monkey was there, there was the Simian army, but then The newer way of doing things was somewhere based on the CNCF principles or the cloud native principles, where it had to be open source. Community collaboration was important. It was important that, I mean, in terms of chaos engineering, you've heard about a lot of chaos experiments. It was important that these chaos experiments be put out, and a chaos hub was formulated, and that's how the community took off, where they were able to contribute to it. They were able to understand what's there in chaos engineering, and that's where we'll discuss what were the methodologies or what were the steps that we used to build this community. So the open source story, obviously, if I give you a history of Litmus Chaos, it all started off with, we started writing test cases, chaos tests for a project called OpenEBS, and initially the idea was just to keep it closed source and just to run some random chaos tests, production level failures, and then eventually, open source is the future, as we know. I mean, today we are living in the future, but then open source has an immense future ahead of us, and that's where Litmus Chaos was open sourced, and it became a very popular project. We jumped the ship, and sooner than later, I mean, we saw how the community has started pitching in. I mean, there were folks from various companies, various projects, various backgrounds, from students to senior practitioners, CTOs, CEOs, getting involved with the project. They wanted to contribute, they wanted to share ideas, and that's how the project has seen exponential growth in the last 3 years. Where, I mean, open source obviously is not easy, because you have to take everyone together. You have to make sure that there's equal amount of community participation. I think chaos engineering has had its own challenges, not just the challenges which open source has faced, but I think this was spoken about. I mean, the challenges, the struggle with chaos engineering was pretty much shared by Sylvan, who spoke about how it's not easy. I mean, people are scared. I think I'll point out a few challenges that the community faces day in and day out. There's not enough budget. People are scared to run production level failures. People are scared to even think about chaos engineering or resiliency engineering as a practice. And then once they start getting into it, it becomes tough. There's not enough documentation available out there. Again, documentation is pretty important, so people believe that there's not enough content out there to help them. There's not enough tutorials or videos out there to help them, or from an open source perspective, they feel that open source is the projects that are out there, the guides are not easy, or there's not enough support available. So I think we took all the challenges up our chin, and then that's where we decided that we have to deal with all these challenges. We have to make sure that all the challenges that not just open source but chaos engineering has put forward to us, I think Litmus Chaos will resolve most of it. We are still dealing with them day in and day out, but the hope was to deal with this by making Litmus Chaos that open source project. So about Litmus Chaos, I think a lot of talks have discussed about Litmus Chaos. We had Akram from Talent, Akram and Sebastian talking about Litmus Chaos. We had, I mean, Anais yesterday speaking how she has started up her journey with Litmus, and there are so many folks out there using Litmus Chaos. And recently, it's almost about to hit 1 million plus installations, and we have, I think, crossed 7 million plus Docker pulls. So it's been an amazing journey from seeing hardly 10, 15 folks in Slack and hardly 100,000 installations to today. I mean, the exponential growth, folks like Adidas, FIS, iFood, Container Solutions, and so many more people adopting this open source chaos engineering platform, which has 50 plus chaos experiments in its chaos hub. And today, I think, I mean, the stable platform is already up. With 2.0 we achieved that, and looking forward to more changes with the 3.0 version coming out. It's already in beta, but we're hopeful that Litmus Chaos has seen that journey from sandbox to incubating since January 2022, and hopefully will become a CNCF graduated project, just like other projects out there, in let's say Kubernetes and Harbor and so many more. So that's about Litmus Kiosk, and I hope all of you out there are Litmus Kiosk supporters, have loved this project, are getting started, or would love to take part in the community itself. And here are some community building steps I'll share. I mean, it's from a chaos engineering perspective. Of course, I spoke about the challenges, but it's also from I mean, generic perspective. So CNCF obviously has, as a platform, has been very popular. All the projects out there have been amazing, and I think integrations have helped a lot. Litmus Chaos being hosted or as a CNCF project helped the project immensely. I think the feedback which goes ahead with CNCF, where a lot of folks from the larger community join the community, give their inputs, and there are so many projects out there. If I have to point out a few, I'll point out Captain. It's been a project which we have had integrations with. And if we talk about Streamzy, another project which we have with whom we have done a lot of work, Iterate, possibly going to be a next CNCF sandbox project. And there are so many CNCF projects out there, which Kyverno, again, just naming a few, which make sure that your project as a chaos project or any other project, let's say monitoring logs, is being seen out there. It gives you a platform to present at KubeCons, where you go ahead with the office hours. There's a maintainer track, and that's where we presented Litmus Chaos. Litmus Chaos became popular among CNCF folks and people who started using chaos engineering for Kubernetes, or I mean, just were the adopters of Kubernetes, saw the need of chaos engineering for Kubernetes at the first place. And that's how CNCF acted as a platform. And I believe that even with for students, as with LFX mentorship programs, Google Summer of Code programs, it becomes very easy for them to participate in these, I mean, projects, not just Litmus Kiosk, but any other project. And this is an example of Slack. We have our popular community member, Crystal Lamb, asking a question. So Slack is pretty vital. So if you are using any project out there, if you're using a chaos engineering project out there, it's hosted on the Kubernetes workspace, but Slack helps you understand or helps drive that communication. I mean, organically people join in, organically people ask their questions, they share their doubts. And I mean, you see a community, it's more than, I think, 1600 folks today, but it started with hardly 60 to 100 folks absolutely 3 years ago, less than 3 years ago. So you see how the community develops and how people tune in, people join in. And I mean, there are some major community building steps, and these are the four community steps that really help. Important collaborations. You need to collaborate with not just people, but with also various other projects, various other companies, where they come in, they share experiments with you, they share some aspect, they contribute through documentation. Student, I think the student participation is pretty important. You start from a very nascent stage, you start with workshops, you start with a very basic idea of any technology. It can be monitoring, it can be chaos engineering. And chaos engineering, I feel that it has become popular enough that students have started participating in it, and we see a lot of applications coming in. And nextly, community champions, I'll also go through something that we ran in terms of building community champions, community builders. But it's very important to have community champions who run your community, who basically contribute essential contributions to your community. And lastly, community events. Of course, you need mass participation, and I think events like Chaos Carnival, events like Chaos Engineering meetups have really been the backbone of building chaos engineering to what it has become today, from the early days at Netflix. So here are some events that we have participated in. We have curated, we've joined KubeCon, I think an immensely large platform to participate in. I think one of our hosts, Cyan, me and Cyan, have done a lot of work. A lot of people from our community have done a lot of work to join various meetups, various YouTube live sessions. I think the pandemic also helped us, where everything was virtual, and joining these sessions have been really helpful, putting it out in various communities from Australia to the Middle East. I think joining each and every community, you learn something, you meet a lot of new folks, and that really helps your project grow. And that's how Litmus Chaos grew from a very nascent stage to joining KubeCons and meetups at a global level, where today chaos engineering is a sought after technology. And as I spoke about community champions, I think we ran a litmus chaos leadership program, and Akram Rihai, one of our first litmus leaders, helped from his early days, helped drive folks to litmus chaos, ran chaos engineering meetups locally in France, and has also contributed in some form or the other in terms of documentation, in terms of community building. And that's why building leaders and community champions became so important, where any contribution, coding or non-coding contribution, became pretty important from a community perspective. Moving on, I think I spoke about student programs, Google Summer of Codes, Season of Docs. We have had so many mentees coming in terms of LFX mentorship. So college students who might watch this session later on or are watching, I think this is how projects should be, or this is one of the projects for you, Litmus Chaos, where you can learn, you can start contributing or contribute something at least that can help your journey in the cloud native space, or your journey eventually in the chaos engineering space as well, where you can bring in this practice at wherever, in whichever level you're joining in, from a developer stage to eventually becoming SREs in your career. So content is king. Once again, we believe that content has helped drive community, and the blogs that we put out on dev.to, the videos that we created on YouTube in terms of tutorials. We started with Litmus Chaos tutorials, and the chaos engineering tutorials are really popular out there. In terms of whatever we did, the integrations were put out as blogs, or a simple contribution by a mentor or mentee was put out on dev.to. And content eventually helps you reach people, the community reach people, and that's how chaos engineering has reached people, where today you see a lot of content on chaos engineering out there on these platforms, and so many platforms beyond just these popular ones, where you search chaos engineering and you get an answer. Or even chaos carnival has been so important here. So we run Litmus Chaos community meetings every third Wednesday of the month. Obviously, a couple of them we couldn't run because of Chaos Carnival preparations, but from next month you'll see a full-fledged community running. There are community notes out here which help you learn more about the community. The agenda of the sync up is mostly to understand the community, take Q&A, understand how the community is being run. And obviously, people who are getting started with chaos engineering, I feel that this is the place for you, where you can ask your questions, where you can clear your doubts, and you can meet the maintainers. I think meeting the maintainers help you become a maintainer in the future, or help you get more understanding of the project, better guidance. But I feel, once again, joining these community meetings are helpful as you move ahead with your journey for Litmus Chaos. This is the CNCF Chaos Engineering Meetup Group, very popular. It was obviously based out of India, and now we are running it, I mean, in a worldwide, where you can see almost 2,000 folks have joined this meetup group. And every last Thursday of the month, we usually run meetups. We are also planning in-person meetups at various places. We ran a few in Bangalore, and hopefully, if you are interested in running a chaos engineering meetup at your office or locally in your area, then feel free to just reach out, and you know let's build the community together. I think everyone out here is a community champion, and this is a way I feel community is built through meetups, community meetings, and just helping reach people. I mean, you have to reach people to inculcate any knowledge, let's say even chaos engineering, if you should talk about it. So, lastly, integrations. I think I spoke largely about it with Captain, and there are so many projects or products out there which we integrated with and look forward to integrate with. These are some whose integration stories have been popular: Orgo, Octeto, Captain, GitLab, GitHub Actions. So these have been very popular integrations, and there's so much more. There's so many more possibilities out there. So many more projects: Backstage, Open Telemetry, Crossplane. I think there are endless projects that chaos engineering can be integrated with and can be visualized alongside. And I think that's also helped various communities participate in our community. Chaos Carnival, I think it's an initiative supported by the Litmus community, and it's been a very very popular event, 3 years. And I think each and every year we have seen a lot more people come in. And I think this is how I'll take a journey of any project. If you run popular events, if you run the popular integrations, if your community is strong, and if you're building content, then these are the popular takeaways. Social media wise, you need to be active. Once again, uh, a lot of people think community management is a lot about social media management, but I think social media is just a part of it. If you're creating the right posts, reaching the right people, then the community always stays strong. And obviously these are the insights. I think this is something just to prove how chaos engineering has grown over the years and how litmus has grown as a project. You can see in 2020, as I spoke about, it was almost nothing, and today it's crossed all level of installations, all level of insights. And you can see how chaos engineering has exponentially grown over the last few years. And it keeps growing. This is the exponential growth of chaos engineering. And similarly, the exponential growth of Slack, how over the years Slack members coming in and started asking the questions. And you can join the Slack channel as well. Just join the Kubernetes Slack and the Litmus channel, and the GitHub stars. I think these are the metrics which are important. So building a community is also about understanding the metrics. So I just pointed out a few important metrics. It can be your social media growth, it can be growth on your Slack community or your Discord community, wherever you're running your community. Your GitHub stars, how they are growing. It, I think it talks about how many people are actually seeing your GitHub or interested in your project. And obviously your operators installed or installations, experiment runs, these things constitute for how your project has grown, or how important your project is right now in terms of traction. So what is next? These are the upcoming goals that I'll just point out. Obviously contributions is one, but I think as a community we look forward to integrate with more projects, and your participation will help. We welcome all contributions of all kinds. If you are interested in developing features, contributing bug fixes, or any other improvements, if there's something that you can contribute in terms of learnings from your company or your chaos engineering journey, we are pretty much open to it. Documentation, including reference materials and everything, there are non-coding contributions as well that can be done. And these are the repositories that you can check out: chaos charts, workflows, testing tools, the UI, litmus go, on which the experiments are being built. And if you are well versed with Go, Python, or Ansible, you can write your own experiments. And lastly, the litmus chaos website as well. So that's about it. That's about the contributions. And I think I hope that with my talk I've helped you understand the community a little, how the community runs, where you can participate, and how you can kickstart your chaos engineering journey. And perhaps I'll just open the floor for any questions, if there are possibly any questions, or else we can wrap up the talk. I hope you enjoyed a sneak peek to the litmus chaos community. Do we have any questions?
Hey Prithvi, yeah, that was a great session. Great case study on how to build a community.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarthak. If there are any more questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or Slack. And thank you so much once again, folks. I hope it was a very informative session for you all. And I hope to see you in the community next. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks Prithvi for the session. Thanks guys for joining.
Thank you. Bye.